everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on CCT College MSM Launch E-Summit 2021 Live. Our attendees are on the process of joining the webinar. In the meantime, on behalf of all of us in CCT College and MSM, I hope your families and your colleagues are all safe and well. We are seeking positive signs on the vaccine development across the globe, seeking positive signs of international students preparing overseas educations. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from all parts of the world. I would like to thank you for all taking our time for being here today with us. My name is Sagar Sabharwal, Head Sales, Global Marketing Office overseeing Ireland, Europe, and US institutions at MSM. I will be your moderator for today's webinar. I'm delighted and pleased to introduce today's panelists, presenters, Mr. Gerard Callaghan, who is the Head of Admissions, Ms. Marie Matique, who is Head of Marketing, and Mr. Carl Gallagher, who is Dean of Admin and Finance at CCT College, Mr. Jason Pollard, who is Administration and Operation Lead. A heartily welcome to all the presenters of joining the webinar. And so what's the agenda today of webinar? Yes, you will be hearing a comprehensive presentation on CCT College by esteemed panelists. You will be here on what's new at CCT College overview, programs available, and application and visa process by Mr. Gerard. As a reminder, everyone is currently muted. Will be encouraged you to type in your question and comments throughout the presenting and question answer section presenting in the control panel. And to get the further insight on our student support and at CCT College here has to be offered, and COVID update will be done by Ms. Marie. In case you're facing a technical issue, please feel free to drop in the message in our chat box. In our control panel, the webinar is recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel afterwards. This is a webinar is recorded and posted in the channel afterwards. For those who have missed, just join in. Welcome to today's webinar in CCT College MSM Agent E-Summit 2021. So without any further ado, let's kickstart things for the welcoming esteemed panelists. Gerard, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sagar. Thank you for enabling us to have this webinar today. And we're always glad of our partners, MSM, because they're there to support you and us in moving forward. Today, I would like to give you an overview of CCT. Firstly, starting with, of course, about Ireland, Dublin, the college, some of the courses, and then some of the more up-to-date issues with regards to COVID and student success and everything else. So what you see as, we'll start with Ireland. I'm not sure what some people will obviously know a lot more about Ireland than others, but just putting it in context. So let's start with population. So what I've done is I've taken the general countries that we are dealing with MSM, and you have some figures like India has 1.3 billion, Pakistan 221 million, all the way down to South Africa and 59 million. Where Ireland comes is 4.8 million. So essentially we're like quite a large town in India, or maybe a region in South Africa. So in terms of land and size, again, Brazil is 8.5 million square kilometers, all the way down to Vietnam at 331,000. Ireland is only 70,000 square kilometers. We're actually the 122nd size of country in the world. Again, we're about the same size as Sri Lanka for those in Southeast Asia, or we're about half the size of Nepal or Bangladesh in terms of area. Moving towards business, this is where we start getting very competitive. We might not be exactly big in size, but definitely in terms of GDP. The IMF 2021 projections, obviously India is such a big country with such a population, it is 3,050 billion, all the way down to Pakistan and 286 billion. Ireland, we have 476 billion. We're actually 29th in the world in terms of GDP. But let's cheat a little. Let's talk about something that is a little bit more relevant, and that's GDP per capita. This is where India slides down a little bit because of its large population, and even Brazil at $15,000 is quite in the middle. Mexico tops the list of the 8 countries I've listed. But Ireland suddenly jumps right up the list. We're actually 99,000. We're nearly breaking the 100,000 mark. So we're fourth in the world with regards to GDP per capita. So as you can imagine, and from these figures, you will see that we're a very small country, very highly financed, and we're really punching above our weight in terms of output. Now, coming back to Ireland again, I don't often quote Wikipedia, but when it gets it right, I like to highlight these things. So what Wikipedia said about Ireland and its economy is the economy of the Republic of Ireland is a highly developed knowledge economy. It's focused on services in high tech, life sciences, financial services, agribusiness, including agri-food. Ireland is an open economy. We're fifth on the Index of Economic Freedom, and we rank first for high-value foreign direct investment. And finally, in the global GDP per capita tables, Ireland ranks fourth out of 186 countries in the IMF table and fourth out of 187 in the World Bank ranking. Now, Ireland wasn't always that way. I would have to give you a little bit of history. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, and indeed into the early 80s, Ireland actually was very much based on tourism and agriculture. But we were lucky in the fact that we had a very smart government in the late 60s that promoted education and promoted a wide range of universities and supported them. And in that, we are now from the education, we found that industry followed. And the wise, I suppose, forefathers in the 60s could see that education was the way forward. So when all the computer companies came along in the 90s, suddenly you had an English-speaking country on the verge of Europe that was part of the EU that had a very young and educated population and spoke English. So we suddenly became the mecca for all the IT companies. And as a result, it drove our economy from literally mid-table to low end of the table, right up to the very top of the table in tables such as the GDP per capita. So as a result, just summarizing, our currency is the euro. Our language is English and Gaelic, although English is the business language. It's very rare to have Gaelic spoken, but there are small areas in the country. And at this stage, it's more for cultural reasons that it's being protected. So English is our main language. Our main industries are IT, life sciences, tourism, and agriculture. We have a population of 4.8 million. Our GDP capita, I keep saying it is fourth in the world, and our average income is 10th in the world. Lonely Planet Guide voted Ireland as the friendliest country in the world. Who's to disagree? Everybody knows the Irish people like to chat. But what really is significant is 36% of the population in Ireland are aged under 25. So it's a very young society. It is also, though, a very family-orientated society. And this is very important when we look to countries like, continents like Asia or Africa, and they're saying, well, what is Ireland like? We're actually a Christian country, essentially, but family-centered. So we're a very family-orientated and family-supported country, which means that it is very safe for international students. When I travel, and I travel quite a bit, well, I did pre-pandemic anyway, when I travel, people are very shocked sometimes to know when I tell them that our police do not carry guns. There are special groups in the police that carry guns, but very few, because we long found out that if the police have guns, the criminals have to have guns, and it becomes, we've all seen it on television where, he who has the biggest gun wins. In Ireland, it is a very safe society. And as a result, we have a very, very focused family society. So it's a very safe place to live and to learn. And a lot of students really like the idea that you can walk in Ireland safely. Ireland is the computing ICT capital of Europe. And actually, at latest figures, we're the largest exporter of computer services in the world. Now, everybody loves statistics, and we all look at the statistic that suits us. The reason Ireland is the largest exporter of computer services is because most of the IT companies are based here, and we have a very small population. So everything we produce is for export. But it is nice to know that we top the table in exporters of computer services in the world. In terms of the companies, we're the European, Middle Eastern and African headquarters for most of the leading IT companies in the world. You will see there all of the logos popping up: Intel, EMC, Microsoft, HP, Amazon. And when TikTok went to open up their European headquarters, we were the natural base. So we're very much heavily centered as an IT center of excellence. So I'm going to take a break just for a minute, and I want to play a small video about Ireland, and it gives me a chance to get a drop of coffee. Okay, just give me a minute.
Long before anyone can remember, there was a small island on the edge of the world, the last stop before the new world. And its people traveled the world, taking their place in the memory of the world. And the years passed and the world changed, and that island on the edge of the world found itself in the center of the world, connecting the world, making the world smaller by thinking big, dreaming dreams the world could share, sharing with the world our own very special part of the world. And what have we discovered on this little island in the middle of the world? We've discovered the world likes the way we do things, and there's nothing in this world we can't achieve. Ireland, ready for the world.
So that literally summarizes where Ireland is at the moment. We're a young, modern European centre. We're actually, after the UK have left EU, we're now the only English-speaking country in the EU. And we're becoming a centre now for finance, as well as the benefits for us is that a lot of companies moving out of the UK have now decided that Ireland is a good place, because again, we're very much centred in IT. We have a young population and life is good in Ireland. So that tends to attract them. So let's talk about Dublin. So Dublin is Ireland's capital city. It is the centre of government. It has a population of 1.8 million. As I said, it's a centre of finance, education and culture, but it's also Europe's leading hub of innovative games companies. So a lot of these companies I don't recognize, but certainly my kids would, such as Big Fish, EA, Havoc, Demonware, PopCap, Zynga. So we're becoming a centre of games development as well. Another area that we're becoming very much renowned for is data centres. The climate in Ireland suits data centres, and the larger companies are moving in. So we have, at the moment, we're the European data center location for IBM, Microsoft, Google, Yahoo, again, all the leading companies. These are a few pictures of Dublin, but what they really reflect is that we're a modern European capital, very much centered on the green philosophy. So there's a lot of good, strong public transport. We have trams, buses, and free bikes. I think we were one of the first countries in the world to introduce the bike system. And as well as that, it's easy to walk in Dublin and get around. However, there are drawbacks. And one of the drawbacks is that when you're a very popular city, and we are very popular, and the education is very busy in terms of there's a lot of people who want to actually come and study and indeed come and work in Ireland. And when you have headquarters like Google and LinkedIn and Facebook, and they're paying very large salaries, accommodation is an issue. So I'm not trying to say that it's not a problem. It is an expensive city. Sometimes later on, I will show you figures about what you can earn and what the students can earn. And essentially, what I am saying is it is an expensive city, and you have to be aware of that too, but there's great opportunities. So in terms of accommodation, one of the questions you'll ask is what level of accommodation? And we generally have 3 different levels of accommodation. We have student, which is purpose-built. It's single, I see my misspelling, single ensuite room with shared general living and cooking areas. These usually have gyms, recreation rooms, even cinema rooms. They tend to be high-level luxury, and they also tend to want long-term leases, so generally between 30 to over 40 weeks. And the rates are, again, generally from 8,000 euros to 12,000 euros per year. Most of our students would find that too expensive, but again, there are students who want that accommodation. The second level of accommodation is family homestay. This is very popular for especially younger students moving to Dublin and who haven't got family or friends to support them. And again, their host family is vetted by the police. So all those the families are all vetted by the police to make sure that they're perfect, good records and they're suitable people. Generally, it's a private room, usually en suite. If two friends are traveling, maybe there would be occasions where two would share a room, but generally it's a private room, usually en suite. The meals are provided. That's usually breakfast and evening meal during the week, and at the weekends, all meals. Contracts can range from 4 to 52 weeks, and the rates at the moment are 200 to 220 per week. That's gone up quite significantly from roughly about 160 maybe a year ago. But again, COVID means that not a lot of people want people trucking through their house every week. So again, it's something that it's a reduced market. The most popular is the private rental market. And this, most of our students here in CCT will do this. And this is what we've all done when we moved to the big city. You share a house with fellow students or others that could be in employment. And the rates are usually from 600 to 1,000 per month. There are some cases where you can find rents as low as 400 euros, but again, that generally means you're sharing rooms. For single rooms, it generally is from 600 to 1,000 per month. In terms of working, a student is allowed to work for 40 hours per week, and in the months of June, July, August, and September. So for those 4 months, they're allowed 40 hours a week, and also for the month of the 15th of December to the 15th of January. It's 20 hours per week at all other times. The minimum wage in Ireland is 10.20 per hour, but generally it's a little bit north of that and a little bit higher than that for companies such as, Burger King or the McDonald's and places like that. But there's a wide range of work opportunities, usually in retail shops and supermarkets, cafes, restaurants, bars, kitchens. It's not guaranteed, and the college certainly does not assist in finding work. We're not there for that, but it's very unusual for students part-time. In fact, all of our students would work part-time. CCT College itself. So I've talked about Ireland and I've talked about Dublin. So just a little bit about the college itself. It's an IT and business college. So we specialize in those two areas, offering government accredited degree programs at undergraduate and postgraduate levels in computing, data analytics and business. All our degrees are validated by QQI, which is the Irish state government agency, and are accepted worldwide. They're also, which is significant because not all programs are approved, but all our programs are approved by Irish immigration authorities for international students. That's very important later on when we actually come back to talking about stay back options and visa options and everything else. So all of our courses are approved for international students. The college itself is centrally located in Dublin too. You can Google it, or as I did this morning, there you are, the red dot in the center of Dublin. And it's very central. So it's very easy access to all transport hubs, bus, tram, train. And also significantly, it's located in the business and tourist center. So there's great opportunities for part-time work when students finish up work. So they can go quickly from the college to work and vice versa. So I'm going to take another break now, and I'm going to pass you on to my colleague, Marie McTighe, who will talk about industry links and employability. So over to you, Marie.
Thank you, Ger. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're delighted to be able to present a little bit more information about Ireland, Dublin, and indeed CCT. I'm going to start by just, I suppose, focusing on the opportunities for graduates within Ireland and what we do as a college in order to ensure the graduates are workplace ready. So all of the programs at CCT are very industry aligned. They're designed and delivered to encourage students to develop a very good mix of both the theoretical, practical and up-to-date skills that they need. Applied projects, both group and individual ones across both of our faculties of ICT and business are tailored to real life industry problems, with a lot of input from our industry partners. So it makes them very, I suppose, workplace relevant. And in fact, since 2018, the college has had a strategic partnership with Microsoft Ireland, mainly for state-funded course provision for in-demand skills areas, around the areas of networking, software development, data analytics, and artificial intelligence. But this partnership has also very much informed our new program development also. We offer a dedicated career guidance and graduate progression assistance support service for our students. And we also allow students to complete ICT industry certification assessment as well on top of their academic studies. And this very much enhances the graduate profile of students as well. I suppose we measure our college success on our students' academic and career progression. So we know how important this is to our students and their families. So we put a big focus on it as a college, and we're very proud of an excellent employment rate for our graduates. In fact, the most recent graduate outcome survey that we published in May of last year showed that 94% of our graduates are working or in further study, with a further 4.9 about to take up a position in the following 3 months. So that's a very strong statistic. We as a college have very strong links with many companies based in Dublin who take on many of our students each year. Ger mentioned a lot of those companies who have their European global headquarters in Ireland. And what we do when students, whether they're starting first year of a degree or whether they're here to study for their master's degree qualification, we encourage them that when they start to link up with the careers advice service here. You know, if you're studying software development, think about the companies that they might like to look towards applying for, and just to start that process early, and to see what, you know, positions are currently being advertised at the college, because as I said, we have a strong connection with a lot of companies who will actually approach us and say, we are looking for graduates in networking, we're looking for graduates within the area of software development, we're looking for graduates within the area of data analytics. And it's definitely been proven time again that if students are proactive early in their studies and looking for internships and work experience, etc., you know, during their summer breaks, etc., they often have a graduate position or even a full-time job by the time graduation comes around. So Ger mentioned some of the companies that have made Dublin their home. I've listed here some of the companies that our recent graduates are currently working in. So you can see a lot of familiar names there: Accenture, Microsoft, obviously, Amazon Web Services, or AWS as they call themselves, Dell, IBM, LinkedIn, a lot of the global, both IT and, as Ger also mentioned, there's a lot of finance hubs here in Dublin as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for our business graduates. In terms of, I suppose, graduate salaries in Ireland at the moment, for undergraduate level, the starting salary is approximately 35,000, depending on the sector for undergraduates, and then that will rise up to about 45,000 euro for a master's level graduate. But again, it very much depends on the position and the discipline or the specialisation that the student or graduate has. So Ger, can I ask you just please to move on to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So here is just, I suppose, a list of some of the career services and support that we give to students to enable them to prepare for these roles that we're saying are available. So things like CV preparation, job seeking, job readiness, career coaching, psychometric testing, and particularly in the area of ICT, there's a lot of different types of interview skills that students need in different types of interviews that are being used by a lot of these global companies. So opportunities to practice that kind of stuff. And then also, you know, other areas like report writing and even, you know, time management, stress management. So quite a holistic view of the job preparedness route. Another thing that we offer, and I'll ask Ger just to move on to the next slide if you don't mind, is alumni, thank you Ger, alumni experience sessions. So this is where we bring in people who have maintained a close relationship with the college, who are now working successfully in the various sectors. They come back in, they speak to usually our final year students about how they found the job search, how they found, you know, moving into the workplace, how they use the skills that they obtained within college to you know, progress their own careers. So on the left there is the most recent in-person one that we held, and most recently we had a virtual session, which also worked very, very well. Another thing that we offer is we bring in a lot of industry speakers to talk to different groups about topics related to that subject, particularly that they may be interested in progressing on when they graduate. So most recently we had staff from Deloitte in to talk to our students about the area of blockchain. And the photograph that you see here on the slide is the Chief Technology Officer from IBM Ireland, who was into us kind of just pre-pandemic, talking about IBM and their plans around the area of artificial intelligence. So if you don't mind moving on to the next slide, Ger, thank you. I suppose just to give a little bit of a brief overview on the different types of pastoral support that's offered. The college maintains a very student-centred, friendly and supportive learning environment, and all of the staff that work within the area have many years of experience caring for and supporting international students. And a very common line of feedback that we get among our international student body when we, you know, ask them to kind of, you know, say a few words about the college is that they always say invariably that CCT is like a family and almost like a home away from home. And, you know, I think you know, the student success rates and the graduation rates that we have show that although we are a relatively small institution, we're a very effective institution. We also offer dedicated international students support in counselling services, advice on accommodation. Ger went through all the different options there, and you know, there are a lot of different options for students, so it's something that we will always kind of advise them on individually, depending on their circumstances and what type of you know, accommodation they might like to look for, and we will provide every assistance possible in helping them source that. We also provide advice on you know, immigration rules. You know, sometimes things can change during student studies and it can be quite confusing, so we'll always offer advice on that. And of course the options that are open to them post-graduation, and the different maybe, you know, visa options that are available to them if they wish to gain work in the area. And Ger is going to go into a lot more detail on that as well later in the presentation. Just in relation to student life, the college facilitates a number of clubs and societies every year, and organises a calendar of social events, including freshers events and a formal college ball. Unfortunately, the photos that you're seeing here are not from 2020, unfortunately, they're from 2019, but it's our most recent event that we held in the Hilton here in Dublin, and it's always a great night out. So we're looking forward to being able to hopefully host that again next year. The biggest clubs and societies at the moment in the college are soccer, yoga and coding. The yoga is actually proven to be very popular with their students, both in person when it was possible and also very much on a virtual basis at the moment. Our clubs and societies in general are very student interest focused. So if a student or a group of students wishes to set something up, our student services department are very proactive in trying to make that happen and bring people together with common interests, or perhaps interests that they didn't even know they had. One thing I'd like to probably note here as well, just on the previous slide there was a student mentoring academy. You don't need to go back, it's fine. That was a photograph of some of the members of our student mentoring academy kind of pre-pandemic, and it's something that has proven really successful, and it blends the curricular and extracurricular at CCT very well. And basically what it is structured peer support classes from more experienced students and alumni, facilitated by faculty. And this is a really good support to new students, obviously, particularly, you know, students who are new to different programming languages, to offer them offer them assistance in getting to grips with the syllabus. And then also it acts as a really good opportunity for experienced students or graduates to put on their CV that they are mentoring and coaching others in that industry. So onto this slide now, and I suppose this is something that we're really proud of, again, I suppose due to our size, but we've been very successful, and our IT students particularly have been very successful in participating in various industry-led student competitions. So the one on the left there is run by OpenNet every year. They're now owned by Amdocs, but up until recently, they were the largest Irish-owned software company in the country. And every year they organise an annual coding challenge, and CCT students have been placed a number of times in the top 3 positions and actually won it outright twice. So that's the most recent champions of 2019. CCT students also last year, I think it was November 2020, took part in and won the Amazon Web Services or AWS Educate Challenge. So the team of students from CCT achieved the most points across all of Ireland and the UK in this challenge, beating many universities and higher education institutions in both countries. And 15 students from CCT were placed in the top 30 winning students for Ireland. So that's a very, very significant student success story there, and we're very proud of them. For the moment now, I'm going to hand you back to Ger, who is going to give you an overview of some of our specific programs in the college, summary, and then also go into a little bit more on the application and visa process. Thank you, Ger.
Thank you, Marie, and sorry for getting too quick there with some of the slides.
No worries at all.
One of the things, just before I go on, I would say that, and it's something I should have mentioned earlier about the college, we are a small college. We're very proud of that. We have about 440 to 450 intake every year. I know to some countries that's tiny, but our belief is what we do very well. We're very focused on career outcomes, and that is why with things like the coding championship and the AWS, that we have one competition. So we're punching very much like Ireland, we're punching very much above our weight. We're also, because we're a small college, we have a lot of supports, and international students need supports, and especially if they're undergraduate. So little things like we take a roll call every day. It doesn't mean that the student has to come in, that's the student's choice, but one thing we do is we are proactive. So if we see a student that's not arriving into class, we will reach out and ask that student, are you having problems? Are you having difficulties? And they might say, oh no, I was sick last week, and that's perfectly okay. But one of the things is we're very active in managing our students. And I think that then is reflected in our outcomes at the end of the day as well. And sometimes some institutions are just too big to have that sort of service. But I think with the numbers we have, we do it very, very well. Now, rather than keep you going all day on the different courses, I'm going to generally run through our undergraduate and postgraduate degrees. And I'll also then give specific details, but that's something that you can reference, because this presentation will be available for all of the participants later on. You can download and you can go through the exact details. So I will be skipping through a few slides just to keep us somewhere near schedule, because I do talk too much, I'm afraid. As one of the curses of the Irish, we do tend to go on and on and on. So quickly, just up on the screen, the undergraduate degree, we have undergraduate degrees in business, which is 3 years, or computing, which is 4 years. We also have advanced entry. So if you have a 3-year BCom and you can't get access to a master's because they're looking for 4 years business, we can bring you into the final year of the business. Or alternatively, if you have a bachelor, a BCS in computing, maybe over 3 years, and you're having difficulty sourcing a suitable master's, you can come into the final year in computing. So we have advanced entry too. As mentioned earlier, all of our courses are approved for immigration purposes. And as a result, every course we do has an element of stay back. A stay back, I mean that you get a work visa on completion. So for an undergraduate degree, you get a 1-year work visa on completion. And that allows you to work for 1 year and try to find a job in the relevant industry. The classes for the undergraduate degrees are 3 days a week. They're fixed. So it means that if you are working full time, you can easily talk with your employer and say, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm in class. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I can work, or vice versa. So again, the classes are always limited to 3 days per week. And for it, you just briefly need IELTS 6.0 or its equivalent. The higher diploma This is a range of courses that I try to promote because they're actually very, very suitable for students, international students. But sometimes I'm fully aware that some countries, say in India, for instance, the banks don't actually support higher diplomas. The word diploma isn't exactly a marketable qualification, but actually it's a very good qualification. A higher diploma allows you to convert from one qualification to another. So if I'm an engineer working in, we'll just say Bangalore, and I suddenly see all my friends doing very well in computing, and I'm not able to get into computing, a higher diploma will allow you to do that. It's a 1-year course. You get a 1-year stay back. Again, classes are 3 days per week. And we were offering that in computing, data analytics, and artificial intelligence. The employment rates from these courses are very high because they're all areas that are in high demand in Ireland at the moment. So the idea of following a career is very practical for somebody with an engineering or science degree or something like that. Also, of course, you can do a 2-year master's by doing the higher diploma in year 1 and the master's in year 2. So some of our students, again, I don't just reference India because I'm aware there's people from all over the world looking at this today. But in India in particular, if somebody wants to do a 2-year master's, they might have had a very poor grade in their bachelor's, or they might have a situation that they haven't used enough of their bachelor's so that they're a little bit out of date. They can do a higher diploma first, followed by a master's. So it's a very good stepping stone, and the visa office is very aware of people wanting to change direction and change careers and take 2 years to do a master's. In masters, we have an applied software development master's and a data analytics master's. These are 15-month programs, which is 1 year of a taught program followed by a dissertation as such, or a project. So that takes the extra 3 months. It's a 2-year stay back, so you get 2 years on graduation. And classes, again, are 3 days a week. We do try to keep that 3-day-a-week limit to allow people to manage their work-life balance. What I would also say is that it's somebody, just for your record, somebody can come in and do a higher diploma, get a year's work visa, then come back after that year and do a master's, and then get 2 years of a work visa. So you're actually getting 3 years out of 5. So it's a very, very good pathway for people who want to work and set up a career. Now, I'm going to skip through these because I'm conscious of the time. And each of these here would be the different degrees with full details of the year-to-year fees, what it's suitable for, the type of IELTS needed, the stay back involved, and I'll just in all of the different programs that are relevant for international students. And as I said, you can access this at a later stage. It's much more relevant that I should probably talk about the Irish visa system. Now, I'm going to divert just a little. If somebody's looking at buying property, they always say it's location, location, location. Well, if you're doing an Irish visa application, no matter what country you're from, it's finance, finance, and finance. That is the key for a successful application. Education is generally accepted that people will have the required standard, but where visas tend to fall down is in the area of finance. So what they are looking for really is fees plus 10,000 per year living expenses. No large unexplained lodgements. So there's, you can't have lodgements in your bank statements that can't be attributed to maybe a sale of land or something like that. So this is the whole key for a successful visa application. Now, the actual application process itself is very straightforward. And again, you will have access to this later, so you don't have to take notes. You apply to CCT, get accepted, and receive the offer letter. The next step is that you pay your fees by international bank transfer. You receive your COE letter, confirmation of enrollment, and the receipt. And then you progress to an online application. Now, in some cases, you will have to, in some countries, you have to fill out what's called a supplementary form, but that would be country specific. But this is the general way of doing it. So online application, you notify CCT of the visa application number, and we then directly notify immigration that you've made the application and you've been accepted and the payment has been made. You then make a VFS booking. VFS is used throughout most of countries, if not all countries now, for lodging your application and also checking the veracity of it. So generally the situation is you attend VFS, do your biometrics. We recommend you use check and verify. You have to use it in India, but we recommend that you use it in any of the applications because it makes the application cleaner. After that, it will take approximately 4 weeks to receive your results. If it's yes, everybody is happy, you organize travel and accommodation is sorted and everything else. If it is no, you can do an appeal. Now, it's very small, only 3 words, CCT will assist. Not a lot of colleges will assist with appeals, but I think that a lot of applications are missed because the colleges don't give that assistance. So we're quite happy to assist you in how you present the appeal and indeed advise you whether I think an appeal will or will not be successful. And again, then that's the whole system basically. If yes, you organize travel. If no, we organize refunded fees, which the amount paid less €300. So just to kind of summarize here with regards to CCT, as I said, we're a small college, but all our courses are fully accredited and approved by the Irish government. The qualifications are recognized worldwide. Graduates have a very high placement rate and there's excellent opportunities in Ireland. We're still in a high rate of growth in Ireland. The college itself has approximately 30% EU students, 70% non-EU. And there's students at present on our current intake from 47 different countries. So that really summarizes the college and the courses, and I will always be delighted to answer any other questions thereon. So I'll just pass you back to Marie now to give you an update on what's relevant in all our minds at the moment, which is COVID. So over to you, Marie.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so I mean, the situation globally with regards to COVID obviously changes on a kind of a week-to-week, month-to-month basis. So we do encourage everybody on this call to keep in touch with us over the coming weeks, just in relation to any changes that happen. But I am very happy to be able to report that the situation in Ireland at the moment is quite good and positive. As of, I think it was Wednesday or Tuesday last week, we had 70% of adults in the country had received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. And there's a big campaign happening at the moment to encourage, everybody who's eligible to do so. And, age groups such as, children, not children, but all adults over the age of 18 are due to have their first dose of vaccine received by September. So that's a very positive prediction. Last month in June, the government announced reopening plans. That's Mr. Simon Harris, the Minister for Higher Education. So there are commitments from all universities and third level providers to provide students with some in-person learning from September. So again, that's something that's being worked on at the moment by all of the third level colleges. So, we're very positive about that and look forward to welcoming our international students from September. Ireland, actually on Friday, it was just released by Our World in Data that we have one of the fastest vaccination rates in the world. So those predictions of having everyone vaccinated over the age of 18 by September is very, very realistic. At the moment, to gain access to the country, it is required that everyone travelling into Ireland has a PCR test negative within 72 hours of travel. Depending on the country that you're arriving from, there are still some mandatory quarantine rules in place and different rules in relation to additional PCR tests being carried out at day 5 or day 10. So again, that all of that advice is updated on a daily, weekly basis on the gov.ie website. But of course, feel free to contact us directly if any clarification is needed on that. And particularly, I think in terms of international students who are hoping to travel and study starting from September, there's probably a lot of questions and concerns coming in from parents at the moment as well. So, please feel free to contact us if there's anything that needs clarification on that. But overall, it is a very positive a positive piece of news that I'm able to give to you today in relation to COVID in Ireland. I'm going to hand you back now just to Ger to wrap up. Thank you very much for your time and for listening to us, and we're happy to answer all of your questions.
Thank you, Maria. I jumped in a little bit there just as you were winding down. Okay, it's very hard when somebody is asked to wrap up, or I was once asked in presentations, can I give a slide or just one summary of Ireland college? What's the opportunities? And the only one that came to mind is this. And it's a bit of a fun pun here. One side, do you see the Prime Minister? Now, of course, everybody focuses on the gentleman on the left, but actually the person I'm looking at is the person on the right, who is Leo Varadkar. And as somebody might notice from the name, it's not exactly Irish. But yet at 40 years old, this son of an Indian immigrant became the Prime Minister of Ireland and made the cover of Time magazine, I think not once but twice. His father, Ashok Varadkar, came from Mumbai and went to Ireland in 1973. So literally in one generation, somebody could go from being a son of an immigrant to the Prime Minister of the country. And I think that really reflects Ireland and the land of opportunities that it is, that you don't have to come from a specific background. You don't have to be a specific nationality. If you work hard, put the head down and achieve things, it is possible. And I think CCT are also trying to facilitate that with our international students and to support them in that journey. Not that I expect that we'll get many prime ministers coming through it, but we're certainly getting a lot of computer developers, a lot of small CEOs of small enterprises that are moving forward. And I do believe that we will have some very, very prominent people in industry within, even at the moment, that going forward, that will bring new inventions and improve life for everybody. So it's a very positive story, but I do think this will say to any national that's thinking there is opportunity in Ireland, you'll be judged on what you do and how hard you work, and not necessarily where you come from or what's happening. And not a lot of countries can say that. So with that, I'm going to now pass you back to Sagar, and we'll believe we're having a questions and answers or type thing. And I'm sorry for running a bit over time, but I'm trying to keep it as tight as I can. Thanks a lot. And thank you all today for giving us the time to make this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard. A wonderful session. Thank you, Mary. And we already have a number of really interesting questions that we hope to get it to touch to at least a little bit. So first question. Does the college also provide support for the people who come with dependents, like if mother comes with their children?
Okay, maybe I should take that. Ireland is quite strict on that, and it is not possible for mothers. Unlike the UK, it's in Ireland, it's just the student only will get the visa. So dependents will not get visas in Ireland. They will get visas from people who work in Ireland, and where somebody progresses on to get a work visa, then you can bring family in, but you will not get a visa for a dependent while you're a student.
Okay. So second question comes like, can dependent apply together? Mr. Ramesh?
Sorry, Sagar. Maybe I just, while Sagar is going clarifying, I think you might have just some communication issues. Dependents are not allowed get visas for, dependents of students are not allowed to apply for visas on the dependency. They can come as a student or they can come as work. If somebody is traveling for work visa, that's different. Or if somebody is a student and then becomes what we call a stamp 4 or work person, that's different. But in general, the dependents are not allowed travel.
All right, thanks. More important is, what's a stay back option, or just a college or just a CCT?
Sorry, will I take that again? I was going to, Carl could take it if you want.
Yeah, sorry, you go ahead.
Okay, the stay back, when you say that, Sagar, what are you saying? What are the options for stay back, or is it just for the college, or is it for everybody?
Yeah, what's a stay back options? Yeah.
Okay, the stay back option is a 1 or 2 year visa that is work visa that allows students work full time to get a job in the industry that they're working in. So it is, where it's relevant is that when students are applying under the rules, it's very hard for Facebook or Google or LinkedIn or any of these, Amazon. They won't hire students because they're looking at, I can't have a student working 20 hours a week and then have another student. It would be very hard to coordinate all the times. So essentially, they're looking for people with the right to work. What the stay back visa does is it gives people a year's or 2 years full-time work visa to prove to the employers that they're able to work, obviously, and that they would be good employees. And generally what happens is in that 1 and 2 year period, most of those people are offered jobs. That's generally what happens. So it's a full-time work visa and would be similar to the UK stay back system as well, or Canada.
All right. And what will be the gap year acceptance in bachelor's and master's? How many years the gap year can be accepted?
Okay, I know I'm answering most of the question, but generally with the gap year, there's no specific time. It's a visa that from the college perspective, we don't care. We actually will judge it on you completing your 12 plus or your high school or your secondary school exams. But the visa office are very slow to allow people with large gaps get a visa. So it's the visa office that will bring in the rules with that. So what I would say is that they will accept reasonable gaps. And I use the word reasonable. It's very hard to measure. There's no fixed rule that if you're 6 months, you get a visa. If you're 6 months and 1 day, that you don't. It's generally on how the presentation of the visa application. I would advise people, if the agent has a question on a particular student, talk to me or Marie or Carl or Jason. Just send in an email to us with an idea of the background, and we will give you our honest opinion. There has been students with large gaps that have got visas and students with short gaps that didn't. So there's no hard and fast rule.
Absolutely. Thank you. And an accommodation perspective on campus, it's been provided by the CCT?
The accommodation, as I outlined in the presentation, we can provide student with student. It's not on campus. We're right in the center of the city, actually. It's we're literally, you could not be closer to the center. And a lot of the area around us is commercial. So if students wish to get the on-campus option, we can actually book them on-campus student, or we book them student accommodation, but it's not on campus. It's about a 10 to 15 minute walk.
All right. And something a really very regular question, very queries really comes, like how old funds required to show money in the by the student?
Sorry, Sagar, did you say what type of funds are required? Or
like show money, like how much
Oh.
funds has been required? Yeah.
Will I take this as well, lads? Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably best at that
Right,
one.
sorry, I suppose I specialize in international, so that's why they're all ending up my desk. The funds required depends on the country you're traveling from, and this is where it's quite difficult. For instance, if you take, and it's a bit unfair, but this is what immigration is about. But so if you take Africa, if a student is coming from Botswana, they've got the ability to arrive in Ireland without needing to apply for a visa. In South America, students from most of South America, Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico, they all can arrive into Ireland without applying for a visa and in advance. And in Asia, Malaysia, for instance, they can just arrive at the airport with a letter from the college. If that's the situation, then the amount that's required is 3,000 euros. However, if you're applying for a visa in advance, which is most of the countries listed, so countries such as Nepal, India, Pakistan, Vietnam, Nigeria, those countries all require to apply for a visa in advance, and they will have to show 10,000, or well, between 7,000 and 10,000 euros, depending on where they're coming from. The India office, which deals in Nepal and Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they insist on having 10,000 per year. Students applying from places such as Nigeria, they're looking for 7,000 a year. this shows you the inconsistencies of the visa office. But we're trying to obviously encourage students, so we're not going to go to the visa office and ask them to have the same amount for everybody, because in typical visa office, they would pick the higher figure. So they would have 10,000 for everybody in the morning if they could. But the practicalities is, depending on where you're coming from, that defines how much money you should have.
All right. So will CCT take the students in bachelor's degree program with higher national diploma from Nigeria?
Yes, we will.
Institutions?
Yes, we will. And in some cases, now the higher national diploma in Nigeria, it depends on what they're doing and everything else. So if somebody has done that, yes, we will take them as an undergraduate student. If they're following up their subject, which is more than likely. So if they have a HND in a business, say, and most of the HNDs in Nigeria are accredited by the UK universities. And if it's accredited by a UK university, then you'll get what's called advanced entry. But it all depends on what course you did and what university it's from, depending on how far your advanced entry is, okay? It's one of these questions, Sagar, that we would answer in particular situations. But if an agent is in an area, wants to get the answer once, it'll always be the same answer. So if the local institute is offering a HND in business and I get a student today and they check with myself or Carl or Jason or Marie and we give them an answer, then in next month when a similar student comes in, you don't have to ask us, you'll know what the answer will be if it's the same HND.
All right. All right. And just something, is there any possibility of paying the tuition fee after visa approval?
I saw Carl shake his head. He can answer that one for a break.
No, basically, Sagar, the proof of payment essentially has to be made for the visa to be approved.
All right.
Now, again, I'll jump in. In the past, in India, in certain places, we had what was called visa on approval. Mm-hmm. However, they have removed that facility now because they say that it serves no purpose. If somebody can't pay a minimum of 6,000 euros fees, then they're not really ready to go to Ireland. So they've now decided that you do need to pay a minimum of 6,000 euros.
All right. And is there any information about the visa interview by Irish High Commission? How often does it happen?
Again, I'll take this one. That's because I'd say I have more experience of it. It happens. It used to happen quite regularly, but now it happens more on an ad hoc basis. So you've got to remember that technology has improved everything in regards to analyzing different applications. So if an application comes from a certain area or has a certain qualification or has a certain, just say a certain school certificate that they've got previously that what was maybe not correct, then you can guarantee they'll probably do an interview. It is much easier to do interviews, of course, now because we have Zoom and we have the technology as we are now here talking to the world. It's very easy for a visa officer in Delhi or a visa officer in Dublin to have a chat with somebody in Malaysia or have a chat with, well, Malaysia, but have a chat with somebody in Nigeria or have a chat with somebody in, we'll say, Vietnam before they travel. So what I would say is the interview, the one country that did a lot of interviews was India. The Delhi office really does interview a lot of the people, especially from the Punjab and from Nepal, if they have any questions. So that's still there, but again, it depends on the profile and the student and everything else.
Clear, thanks, Gerard. And any age limit while applying in CCT?
All right, I just see that. All right, I'll answer. There's no age limit. It's right. We cannot discriminate as a college in terms of age. So whether you're 60 years of age or 18 years of age, we can't discriminate. The visa office will. So if somebody is of an age of, say, 40 or 45, they do have to justify why they suddenly want to come to Ireland to do a degree. We have had a case of a very elderly lady in I think she was Nigerian actually, who came to do a degree later in life after her husband had died, and it made a lot of sense. She just wanted a new career and she got the visa. So there is no limits on age, but certainly questions will be asked with regards to why at this stage of your life you want to do an undergraduate degree. Master's is a little bit more flexible.
Right. Okay. And what about the scholarships criteria and scholarship, about the scholarship?
I feel like I'm hogging this, okay, in answering all the questions. Again, scholarships, it depends on which scholarship they're going for. One of the things that people looking at the extended presentation where they see the details, we tend to actually award scholarships in the second, third, and fourth year. It's something of the undergraduates, because what we found in the past was we don't want a student to come in first year and then disappear or not pass their exam. So what we do is we say, yes, we will give you a lower fee if you go from first year to second year, or we'll give you a lower fee if you go from second year to third year. I think a lot of the parents that I've met, especially in Asia, like that idea because they know their son or daughter won't want to make that phone call saying, Daddy, I've messed up and I failed my exams and you have to pay higher fees. So essentially, everybody, it's a win-win for everybody. In terms of the other scholarships for the masters, it is, at the moment, we are very open about it in the fact that we are offering it for everybody because of COVID. We're given a very wide ranging. So if you meet the requirements, we will give you the scholarship. As we go forward, we're going to have special scholarships for countries like Malaysia, Brazil, and Mexico as we focus on those markets. So essentially that will be with agents per country, and it will be country focused and ability focused then.
Right. So I think they're really great points. We have been able to address few of the questions, and maximum we have been answered and all. And going ahead, we will be responding to those unanswered questions. Our global admission executive contact details will be shared in the control panel. And we will request all our panelists for our closing lines on this knowledgeable driven webinar.
Okay. I think I did most of the talking. I'll talk first anyway and finish off, and just thank everybody for giving us a bit of time today. It is great to be able to reach out. I suppose this is why we do technology, and this is, we're moving forward every day. And the pandemic has had a lot of positives, such as being able to do this now and be able to reach out to all these different countries at the same time. One thing I would say to all the agents is that there is never a simple answer to everything. There isn't an answer for every question. So we're always open for advice. As a small college, and I do this, not only do we support the students individually, we support agents individually too. And MSM will have a very strong support network for you as well. So what I would urge you to is if you have any questions, please contact us. That's what we're here for. So maybe Marie might want to say something in finishing up.
Thanks, Ger. Yeah, just to echo that, I suppose, thank you everybody for joining us. There's a lot of people on the call today, and we hope that you now have a better understanding of what it is like to be an international student in Ireland, in Dublin, and indeed that you've gotten a good insight into CCT. And as Ger said, if there's any clarification or any other questions that you have, please feel free to reach out to ourselves and MSM. We're delighted to be working with MSM and their partner network.
Right. Thanks to all our panelists for a wonderful insight presentation. Before signing off, we at MSM are happy to see CCT launch at E-Summit. They have been informative and a useful session, resources, partner agents, and would request all of you to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube platform to stay updated on our upcoming event. You can also visit our website, www.msquaremedia.com, to get further updates. Thank you so much for participating to the webinar. We hope to see you again next time. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you so much.